I am the medical coding. La 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 la. It's been so long. I miss my YouTube followers. And now I'm back. What topic I'll be covering for today? Aha! In today's episode, we will be discussing HIV and infectious diseases that's located in chapter 1. So, let's start.
When it hurts like this.
These two guidelines that we'll be discussing today is located on your chapter-specific coding guidelines, chapter 1, in your ICD-10-CM book. Alright, so again, an HIV infection, so that's the acronym for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. Okay, so again, it attacks healthy cells inside our body. There's no cure yet, but it's treatable with medicine, specifically a retroviral drug. Okay, so again, if we talk about HIV, it can lead to AIDS at any given point, especially if the patient will not take care of himself. Okay, so we'll be talking about this too later on. All right, so first guideline is you will only code confirmed cases. Words such as possible, probable or probably, or rule out, suspected, suspicion of, and sort of things like that are never ever reported. So maybe you can try to query your provider, but that's the guideline that we have on our book. Okay, this doesn't require any proof of documentation as well. As long as your doctor says that this patient is HIV positive, you don't have to look for evidence. All right, so that's going to be code only confirmed cases. So we have this two scenarios wherein we'll be able to know whether to code it or not. First, the patient is here for an annual checkup. Okay, the doctor noticed some rashes in the patient's genital area. So you have to highlight all the important information. Okay, specifically all the signs and symptoms available on your documentation. That's it. Doctor is suspecting HIV, but as you can see here, nothing was done by the provider. The patient went home, and documentation lacks some information about what really was done with the patient. So in the end, if you don't receive any type of query or any type of information, more information from the doctor, you will not be coding the HIV in this case. All right. What you can code only for today is the rashes. All right. The documentation mentioned rashes in the patient's genital area. That's it. Okay. Next, patient is here for annual checkup. So again, it's the same scenario, but in the end, it's mentioned here the doctor did an HIV testing for the patient, and the result showed positive HIV. So in this case, yes, you can code your HIV codes. Okay. So again, it depends on what's the circumstance. Okay, what's going to be mentioned on your documentation. All right. So second is selection or sequencing of HIV codes. So again, it depends on what's going to be the reason for encounter. What's the chief complaint? Why the patient is here? Okay. So first, patient is admitted for an HIV-related condition. Any HIV-related condition is going to be counted as your what they call as opportunistic infections or OIs. I'll show you later those common OIs or opportunistic infection, or any types of infection associated with HIV. If that's the case, your principal diagnosis should always be B20, okay? Followed by additional diagnosis. So additional diagnoses are for those HIV-related illness and condition, and any other diagnosis that's found within the visit. And the next, so that's your first scenario. Second scenario is if the patient is admitted for an unrelated condition. All right. So let's say, for example, the patient is here because of fracture. Okay, fracture is not always related to, of course, HIV. Okay, unless stated otherwise by the doctor, but commonly it's not. Okay, so what you'll be doing there, instead of you coding B20 or Z21 as your primary diagnosis, it's going to be your secondary for today. Okay, the first code you will be entering is the reason for visit. Okay, so for example, in the sequence earlier, the fracture. Okay, so that's how you will be doing it. So let's put that into action. All right, so let's have that question later on. Let's just explain the slide first. So next is your Z21. So if we have, all right, if we're talking about HIV coding, these are the two codes that you will mostly encounter: B20 and Z21. So think of it like they're King Kong and Godzilla, okay? So they're mortal enemies. They're water and oil. They cannot be combined together, okay? Again, if you will be checking your tabular index, there's a note there that shows exclusion, okay? Excludes one notes. So that's for both B20 and Z21. So take note of that, okay? So that's the easiest, that's one of the easiest way how to eliminate unwanted choices on your CPC exam. Okay, so Z21 is asymptomatic. So basically, the patient doesn't have or doesn't show any type of manifestations for an HIV related condition. So that's going to be it. So wait for the doctor's notes before you decide whether it's a Z21 or P20, okay? So do not use if previously admitted with B20 or AIDS. So basically, if the patient is here already because of B20 or an AIDS condition before, all right, don't code Z21. Okay, you will be coding B20 instead. All right. As for the next scenario here, we have your R75. So if the doctor mentioned in the patient notes that the result is inconclusive or uncertain. So again, the meaning of inconclusive is any information or the sample obtained from the patient is not enough, okay, to rule out the final diagnosis. So doctor will usually tell the patient about that one that, oh, we need to repeat your exam for HIV. We need to repeat your test so we can finally rule out your HIV. So so that's going to be it. So just write R75 and whatever treatment the doctor will be doing for that day. Okay? So that's going to be it. Look for the word inconclusive or uncertain. Okay? So that's it. Let's move to your practice. Okay? So, Mr. N is here at the outpatient clinic complaining of the abrasion on his right elbow. Again, the key factor for your HIV coding is always what? The chief complaint. All right. So at least you can eliminate the stuff that you don't need for the choices. Okay. So abrasion is the chief complaint or the reason for encounter. He sustained earlier this morning. He is also documented. It is also documented that he is an HIV positive patient. But does it show any associated symptoms for HIV? No. Is there anything mentioned about B20 in the past? No. So, in this case, you will be coding only Z21. So take note of that. So divide this into two sections. Again, that's how you will be that's how we will be answering most of the questions throughout our videos here. Okay. So we will be dividing those into sections between primary and secondary diagnosis, so we can easily eliminate those codes who are not needed. Okay. So A is B20. We will not be coding this, right? Because first, chief complaint is abrasion. Second is there's no HIV related condition. S50.311 and S50.312A. Let's double check that one here. Oh, all right. So S50.311A, it's your is the injury code related to this topic. Usually there's an external cost you need to add, but in this particular video, we will not be discussing those yet. All right, it's going to be discussed in the future videos. So you have S50 here. You have to put appropriate 7 character. Remember what I have told you before. You have to go to your category codes, 3 characters, to check if 7 character is needed. All right. Since we are on the S codes, most of the time it's needed. Okay, especially specifically for injuries. So 7 character A, because this is the first time the patient is here. That's initial encounter. Now let's go down. It pertains to your right elbow for the S50.311. Yep. As for your S50.312, it's for the left elbow, which we will not be coding for today. So let's check this one. Eliminate letter C. So the process of elimination, once your first diagnosis or primary diagnosis is eliminated, or one of the codes got eliminated, you can safely eliminate all of that choices. Okay, all of the codes from that choice. So that's going to be it. So we're now left with B and D, but Delta shows Z21 S50.311. So B and D has the same codes, but it's what? It's a little bit complicated for this. But how you'll be answering this one? Check the chief complaint. Check the primary diagnosis. We will not be coding Z21 as your primary because the reason for encounter is not related to HIV condition. Okay, it's only abrasion. So that's going to be eliminated. So letter B is going to be your final answer for this scenario. Okay, so keep on checking this type of questions. All right, so as I have said earlier, previously diagnosed HIV, okay, or if the patient is already was already diagnosed with a B20 before, it will always stay as B20. Okay, so as you can see from my slide here, once a B20, always a B20. Okay, and these are the common opportunistic infections or OIs. Okay, so just check those things, and you might want to take a screenshot. Just take note of that. Okay, you can also ask the doctor if is this related HIV related conditions or not. Okay, if in case you're confused. All right, so there's a saying: things end, but memories last forever. But in this case, in this discussion that we're having, things end, but B20 lasts forever because there's no cure yet for B20. Okay, and once a B20, always a B20. Remember that. Okay, all right. So for HIV in pregnancy, we'll be discussing this in the future slides, future videos on your O codes. All right. So if in case you want to if ever that you're enjoying the videos, just hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and comment down below for anything that you want me to cover the next video. Okay, I'll be posting random topics, random guidelines. All right, so at least you can tell your friends that hey, the medical coding guy is here to help you. Okay, all right. So next is for encounters for HIV testing, just in case, guys, if the patient is here only for encounter for testing, no results that was given yet, or that's for the testing only as the chief complaint, you'll be coding Z11.4. Okay, so that's going to be it. Z71.7, on the other hand, is the type of coding. Okay, it's the type of codes for your HIV that's only for counseling. Okay, so you have 2 criteria for use for this. It's either the result is negative, all right, for that day, or counseling was given for the patient with regards to the HIV illness. Okay, so that's going to be moving forward. Let's answer this very fast. Let's answer this quickly. So Mr. Biggs is here stating that he had unprotected sexual intercourse 2 weeks ago and afraid of having STD. So he did HIV testing today. Was it mentioned the patient having HIV positive or the results? No. eliminate this, and eliminate this. Thus, you're left with Z11.4. Very easy question. This will not take you 10 to 15 seconds, okay? This will just take you those timing, okay? All right. So let's answer a question here related to your HIV. So at least you know that it's not always easy questions that will come out from your exam. Okay. So this HIV positive patient was admitted with skin lesions on the chest and back. Biopsies were taken, and the pathologic diagnosis was HIV related Kaposi sarcoma. So in this case, it's already mentioned that Kaposi sarcoma is an HIV related condition. So basically, what you want to do here is to eliminate all the choices that has Z21, because Z21 is asymptomatic, right? So let's check those choices later on. Again, it's up to you whether you want to go straight to your choices or you want to read the whole statement, okay? Leukoplakia, ellipse, splenomegaly were also noted. So there are some diagnosis, there are some signs and symptoms, manifestations given on the scenario. So let's check what happened here. That's it. So final diagnosis were HIV infection, Kaposi sarcoma, leukoplakia, and splenomegaly. Okay. So letter A shows B20. Letter B shows Z21. Eliminate that one because we will not be coding Z21 because it is a symptom. This scenario is an HIV related illness. B20 here, so we will stay with letter C. And letter D, the coder coded the R16.1, the manifestation or signs and symptoms in the scenario first as the primary. No. Eliminate all of this. Eliminate all of B as well. Because even one code is eliminated, you will eliminate all. Okay? So in this case, it's almost identical. For secondary up until the last code here, R16.1. So assume that it's your leukoplakia, splenomegaly, and Kaposi sarcoma. Okay, but we have to check it. Okay, the first time you're doing this review. Okay, but notice the last code here, Z21. B20 and Z21 is like King Kong and Godzilla. They should not be joined together. So that's Z21, B20 eliminated. Letter A is your winner. Okay. So that's going to be let's say a challenging question that will be for HIV. Okay? All right. So let's now go to the last topic, infectious diseases. The second topic we'll be discussing. This is just, this is very fast. All you need to remember if we're talking about this infectious diseases found on your A and B codes, okay? All you need to do is to check if that specific documentation or final diagnosis by the doctor, okay, already has the etiologic agent mentioned. For example, if you go to A06.0, the exact disease mentioned here is the dysentery, okay? But the reason why the patient is having dysentery is this, the amoeba, okay? So basically, the etiologic agent here is the etiologic agent is Entamoeba histolytica, okay, which caused this disease or this dysentery for this patient. So in this case, you don't have to code B95 to B97 as additional diagnosis, okay? As for the second code here, J36, peritonsillar abscess, nothing was mentioned here about the etiologic agent. So what you want to do here is to code, and it's mentioned straightly in the category itself that you have to use additional code B95 to B97. All right. So that's going to be it. Again, if it's already mentioned on the description of the code itself, all right, for what's the etiologic agent, code it as a solo code. But if ever that it's not yet mentioned, as you can see from J36, then most commonly you'll be getting two codes here. All right, the disease itself and the infectious agent, B95 to B97. Okay, So let's check a scenario where we can apply this. So Miss KS is here at the clinic due to coughing and fever. So highlight this too. Again, guys, you don't need to code your signs and symptoms if there is a definitive diagnosis that already includes those symptoms. Okay. So doctor diagnosed her with pneumonia. So if it's pneumonia, coughing and fever is already part of it. Okay. Due to Klebsiella pneumoniae. So pneumonia is the disease itself. Klebsiella pneumoniae is the infectious agent or the etiologic agent. Okay, so let's check your codes then. Let's divide it into two sections. J18.9 is pneumonia unspecified organism. Just try to check it with your book or the CMS ICD-10 PDF that I have given you before. I'll post the links down below for the materials that you'll be able to download online for free. Okay, so but it's always essential for you to buy the books. Okay, so go to AAPC website and order it. Okay, J18.9 pneumonia unspecified organism. So that's going to be not mentioning what's the type of organism. So maybe we'll check that one later. So just stick with this for a while. B96.1. So your B96.1, Klebsiella pneumoniae as the cause of disease. So most probably this one should be coded as last code, as a secondary code, because that's the reason or that's the etiologic agent. So we'll eliminate letter B. Okay. Alright. J15.0 on the other hand, okay. It's pneumonia due to Klebsiella pneumoniae. So it's already here as a combination code. So you don't have to code it separately. Okay. As for letter A. So this one is out because we already found, okay, J15.0, which is the answer for this scenario. Are you going to code B96.1 as stated on your letter D? No, because again, if it's already stated in the description code itself, J15.0, Klebsiella pneumonia is already mentioned here. No need for you to code that etiologic agent. Are we good? So that's how you will be coding your infectious diseases. So A and B codes is, one of the tough guidelines, specifically for your chapter-specific guidelines on your AAP, on your ICD-10-CM book. So just take note that you can always check your guidelines during your exam. And I think that's it. Any questions related to the topic, any suggestions or comments, or any negative reactions, feel free to comment down below so we can also improve our community here. Again, so long, goodbye, and God bless you guys. See you on our next episode. Bye.